Okay, so since my last video on transitions was quite a while ago, we haven't really looked at the transitions and the prop changes for quite a while because we've been looking at the content of the scenes and doing our rehearsals of those. But now all the set is up and we're getting closer to the performance. We're looking at the transitions of the set and the props. When looking at the transitions, we're using the same inspiration that before of Meyerhold and the same sort of movement as if it's in a performance of itself. But this requires a lot of concentration and memory to remember what item you're taking across to where. Because we wanted it to be clear and in the performance itself, we're only really taking one item across to move to another place. Each person only takes one item, but we sort of cross across the stage like in a grid-like formation because there are 3 doors at the back, 2 doors at the side. We cross across and then back down and up the different generations when we're taking items across, and we're all wearing different costumes because we're all in the performance at the same time. I think that this creates the effect of like an ordered chaos, and it, depending on what music Chip's going to use, could help enhance a certain feeling going into our next scene. When looking and figuring all the transitions out, it took a lot of time because people needed to have time to move from one area to another. If they had to be in the next scene, we had to make sure that they were on the right side to go to that scene and to take the item across, or back down or further up stage to move it across. We had a lot of props and this took a long time to do, but I think could be really effective overall. We've been practicing it a couple of times and it looks to be quite effective. I think the music will enhance it, and potential light changes will also enhance it. Some changes that we also did though when it comes to transitions from the first time we ever looked at it is that the people are going to move themselves. They'll move from one area of the stage to another and they'll acknowledge the people around them, not as characters, but if they are handed a coat, they will acknowledge the coat and notice that they are suddenly feeling cold and they'll put it on and it'll symbolise something. And the same with a cigarette or a drink, or if a chair is put down, and it's the characters noticing their surroundings which makes it feel more abstract and Brechtian and not so much Stanislavski. So far throughout the whole play, the whole feeling has felt very much like Stanislavski realism and naturalism, and the acting has been raw. The idea that they've all got characters and the emotions that they show as well. But in these transition gives a lot more Brecht feel and a lot more abstract because it's all this physical theatre of moving chairs, physically crossing the generation lines, physically crossing the set. And I think it makes the audience think about the main messages more. Because there are a lot of main messages in this play, it's hard for the audience to think about those whilst there is so much going on, the 3 generations talking at the same time, and it's a hard play to follow. So I think that these gaps, these that make you and remind you that it's a play, make you think about what the play is actually telling you and think about the title and why the title is so important. I think Alice Birch is really clever in choosing the title about these 3 women, these 3 really strong characters. So another change that we made was that the characters would put the costume on themselves. Some characters would change costume off stage, and that it would be more organised, that there wouldn't be crashes on stage, because at first couple of times doing it, you'd walk out and take something and you'd bump into somebody else, and it had to be make sure that you were walking in a grid, straight faced, almost in a neutral zone if you were taking an item on, placing it on and placing it off, walking in straight lines and diagonals, and turning 90 degrees, never sort of walking in curves, because it creates this grid-like effect, this sort of lines and timelines and lifelines provide a big metaphor for the play. So this was something that we had to look at, we had to practice to make sure not to bump into each other, because otherwise it breaks the illusion and professionalism. But I think that we are getting close to getting this really good, and getting the movement really good, and this will definitely enhance the whole play itself.